Hello and welcome into Talk Illini. We are covering what looks like the best basketball team in all of college basketball right now. Now, Sonny and I are quite the duo. I don't know if we are quite the duo that Andrej Stojakovic and Jake's
I was gonna say, don't try to say it all together. That's just bad news. That's a jaw workout.
You said it. You said it to me earlier. I was like, man, I really like this duo, and you're like, yeah, try saying it together. And I
Yeah,
tried it
now you
there.
see, you tried it and you saw what happened.
It was a failure. Hey, if you like my failure of being able to not like you try it. You try it first, okay? If you can't do it, like the video. I guarantee you're not gonna be able to do it. Like the video as Illinois comes out with a huge victory, 113 to 70 against Florida Gulf Coast. It was a huge win, not necessarily like Florida Gulf Coast is the best team in the world, but you saw a lot of the things that you wanted to see in this game. Obviously, Tomislav Visic, he didn't play. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but let's start with some of the best stuff we saw, which was Kylan Boswell looked fantastic. Andrej Stojakovic got out there. I know that he didn't look super great at the beginning, but I felt like he really came on toward the end of the game. And then Katon Waggler with 22 points. And how about this guy? I don't know if very many people know about him here, Sonny. David Mirkovic. Just another quiet double double for him. What was your favorite part of this game, Sonny?
It's my favorite part is so far this season is both games have been over 90 seconds into the game. And I can kind of just sit back and watch and evaluate the players, evaluate the game plans, the schemes and whatnot. And I understand we haven't played the top competition yet, but neither is Oregon, neither has Purdue, and neither is Missouri. Teams that are on our schedule, and those teams have struggled against the competition. And so Illinois is doing what Illinois should be doing. If you are an elite team, you take care of business. And for me, it's impossible to be watching these two basketball games and not feel excited about where this team is headed. You can already see what Brad Underwood had in mind when he put this roster together. And 2 games in, you can see that I feel a lot more, I don't know what the word is, comfortable with this team compared to last year's team. I don't know if this team is as good as last year's. I think that's going to be up for debate. But I'm almost certain the bad days this season aren't going to be like the bad days that we had to deal with last year.
Oh, for sure. I mean, as you speak right now, Oregon is 10 of 35 from the field and down 37 to 32 against Rice right now. I mean, that'd be
Ooh,
one thing if it was like Texas or if it
no.
was like, Texas A&M or something. No, Rice.
Yeah, they're
Little
losing the
team
food
there.
right now.
Yeah, you're you cannot lose to a single grain of rice. Not good, not good. Out there for Nate Biddle and the boys. So, and also, Sonny, I mean, I'm not a trash talk connoisseur, but the team that everybody thought was going to be winning the Big Ten, only beating Oakland by 10 points. I mean,
I
I
mean, we're
again,
not
I'm not a
saying
trash talk connoisseur. I'm just
no,
bringing it up. Okay.
no, we're not. But it's our job. It's our duty to bring up
Mm.
the fact that what, yeah, our neighbors to the east struggle a little bit. Now, wasn't that score tied at halftime?
It was something. Yeah, it was really close at halftime. I don't know if it was tied, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was really close. So,
But
but this game, like you said, it was over from the very beginning. I said it to my wife as she was sitting there on the couch because she looked up and she said, "Is this a real basketball game?" And I said, "Oh, it's really kind of like the varsity playing against the JV." And then a few more minutes went by, and I said, "Scratch that. This is all of the varsity went to go play college basketball, and then they're still playing the JV." This is not a fair matchup right now. Now, give Florida Gulf Coast credit; they fought till the end, and they were still playing really hard there at the end of the game. But you could kind of tell the end of the game was try to get the ball in Andrej Stojakovic's hands, try to, brush off the rust a little bit. He hasn't been through a full practice yet, Brad Underwood said, but he did get, what was it, about 20 minutes in this game, I believe it was. I'm trying to check the box score. 22 minutes in this game. So, he got just a couple more less minutes than Jake Davis did. So obviously he must have been feeling good enough to get out there. And I'll be honest, Sonny, I did not love what I saw from the beginning. Played a little stiff, I felt like. Wasn't really hitting shots. The spacing was a little off at times on the floor, but I think that was just them trying to get him the ball. And then as the game kind of continued to progress, you saw him get kind of more in form. He started to share the ball a little bit better. And he didn't feel like he was pressing so hard at the very beginning. And then you really started to see him take off. What were your impressions of Andrej Stojakovic?
I think it's one of those where if you didn't know the background and you didn't understand the context of it and you were just new to Illinois and this was the first game you watched, you'd be like, that guy's not very good, or that guy seemed out of place. And if you take a look at the box score, I mean, most of the people who played prominent minutes had like over a plus minuses. I know that's a flawed stat, but just for the sake of argument, 29, 40 plus all over. Andres was the worst on the team at -7. But having said that, I actually really liked his approach to the game today. He was questionable coming into the game. Uh, he was questionable on the availability report. We still didn't know. And then coming out of the tunnel, he was decked in his uniform. So you figure, okay, he is going to give it a go. The fact that he did end up playing 22 minutes. And what I had my eye on was how aggressive is he going to be? Because if he was a little shy, if he was apprehensive, to me, that would have been a little worrisome because maybe he doesn't trust that he's fully healthy yet. We know that no matter what, this guy hasn't, been with the team, played meaningful minutes really ever, and he's been playing partially in practice, but like he doesn't have the chemistry with his teammates that they've been building over the last 2 months. So we knew he would seem out of place a little bit today, but that's fine. Like, we didn't need a good Stojakovic game against Florida Gulf Coast. What we do need is a decent performance against Texas Tech. And so if this is kind of a platform for him to jump and gain his confidence, I'm kind of okay with that. And that's why I like the aggressiveness, both on offense and on defense. You can tell he wasn't mentally hesitant. And for me, that's a really good sign that he is healthy enough to play meaningful minutes against the competition that's going to really matter. That's going to start on Tuesday.
Well, and I think the best news is too is if he does go out Saturday, it doesn't look as great as maybe we're hoping for at the very beginning. I feel like the depth of this team is so strong that you can take Stojakovic out and say, "Listen, hey man, take the pressure off yourself. You don't need to be this dude that is doing everything out. It's not Stanford anymore, okay, Andre? Like you got playmakers around you. All right, listen. Sorry, Stanford. I know I said I wasn't trash talk connoisseur tonight, but it's not hard to trash talk Stanford basketball last year. They just were not good. However, he doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. You even with Tomislav Visic out and Mihailo Petrovic out, you still have really good contributors on this team. David Mirkovic, I shouted him out at the very beginning, double tonight. One of the best defensive players. I know everybody's going to talk about Zvonimir Visic, but I thought Mirkovic's defense was awesome in this game. Kylan Boswell, he looked like the dude in this game once again. It's really freeing for Andrej Stojakovic coming out in this Texas Tech game to see all of these guys playing so well, so that way he doesn't have to come out there and say, "Yeah, I got to put this team on my back." He can just go out there, be the dude that we know he is, and he can kind of continue to prove that to the fan base and everybody else, and say, I don't have all the pressure on me. I just got to go out and do it."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has. It's very minimal. He's been on the bench, for the Illinois State exhibition. He's watched practices, and you know, this team is clearly a very talented team. We're talking about David Mirkovic, 17 and 11, and this was, in my opinion, one of the quietest 17 and 11s you're going to get. And then that Kylan Boswell had his career high today, and Kylan, I'm really glad to see this happen, and I kind of guessed it might have. He was very quiet, very shy, very, passive in every matchup we've seen of him this year, including the exhibition matchup. Supposedly he did pretty good in the Florida Gators matchup, but none of us saw that. But Jackson State, same thing. I think we talked about it in the post game. It seemed like he was just setting his teammates up to get comfortable, to get acclimated to what the offense is going to look like. And then you figured once the competition levels up, Kylan, he'll reach the level that we need him to. And we caught a glimpse of it today. We talked about how Kylan has the potential to be an all Big Ten guard, and you kind of saw why today. He's just bigger and stronger than a lot of college basketball point guards. And he may not score 31 points again this year, but he very well may. But he routinely do think he could be one of the second or third highest scorers on this basketball team. And most importantly, the leader, the captain, the guy who can calm everything down when things seemed a little too chaotic.
Totally. And this is one of the reasons why you bring these guys back after they come in for 1 year. I mean, Kylan Boswell looks so much more comfortable, so much more confident in the system. Jake Davis, I know he only had 3 points tonight, but still he looks more confident. He looks, better in the system than he did before. I mean, this is why you want to bring in these guys who are not just 1 year rentals and who are coming back, because when they do come back, they're going to be leaders for this team. I know we didn't see it with Big T tonight because he was out, but I think he's going to continue to look that way. It's going to help this team more and more. All right, so we got a lot of the what we liked in there, but let's be honest, it was not a perfect game. Sonny, was there anything that, this put on your nitpicking hat? You're allowed to do it here. Was there anything in this game that maybe you didn't like so much or maybe gives you concern moving forward into the Texas Tech game?
I'm going to butcher this name, but Konieczny, the kid who scored like 20 points in the second half of today's game. I understand the game was out of hand, but I don't like it. I don't like seeing that, because if Konieczny can go off for 20 points in the second half, what do you think JT Toppin's going to go off for when we hit them on Tuesday? Arguably the best player in all of college basketball. Again, this game never really was in doubt, but you won by 55 the first game, you won by 43 this time around. I just feel like the 3-point shooting wasn't as good today as it was on Monday. What was it? Monday, right? Yeah, Monday evening. But it's hard to really find something that you didn't like from this game. It did look a little sloppy, but again, a lot of that had to do with when Stojakovic was on the court. But there's reasoning behind that. So that's why, again, I don't want to fault him too much for it. But, overall, I mean, how many negative things can you find about a 43-point win?
Yeah, true. I mean, there was a little bit of stuff in the with the shooting and the 3-point shooting. That was going to be my main thing that I brought up that I didn't, absolutely love. I felt like the shot selection wasn't always kind of what we saw in the last game, but still, how are you going to argue, 35+% from the field and you still scored 113 points? So obviously very efficient scoring and a good job of getting inside, even when the 3-point shot wasn't working. They only took 31 in this game. I mean, I know it's more than 30, but it's a low 30. So,
and I wanted to bring up 30 of 34 from free throw.
Yeah.
I mean, we recall after that first game against Jackson State, or halfway through, we weren't shooting a good percentage at all. And we had our first glimpse of a Brad Underwood tantrum. You can hear him from the telecast, make your free throws. They did today, 30 of 34, 88.2. Kylan Boswell goes 11 for 13. And I want to bring this up again because he was so good at this in the first game. Katon Waggler, 7 of 7 today. He was 8 of 10 against Jackson State. He might be the best player on this team at creating contact. That's a trait that last year's team didn't really have. Of course, Terrence Shannon Jr. was one of the best ever at it a couple years ago. But Keaton, let's talk about him for a second. There was so much hype with the Wagler train coming into the season. And quite honestly, 18 points in his debut, 22 today. He looks like he's living up to it. He really does. The best way for me to describe it is he looks like a junior year player with his composure. Maybe not physically, he still needs to gain a couple pounds, but the game has really slowed down for him, which is such a rarity when you think about freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how people didn't recruit him. like that's my biggest thing. And they were talking about it on the broadcast, and I was like, okay, I get like sometimes the recruiting services just don't see it, right? But generally, when the recruiting services don't see it, the teams do, because generally that means, hey, this guy isn't going to command as much money, and we see at the very least a future in this kid. And nobody saw it other than Brad Underwood, and what, he had one other D1 offer or something like that. I think it was. I forget who it was that was
he had a
out
couple
there.
of D1s, but not at the Power 4 level.
Oh, the Power 4. Okay.
Yeah.
But it just was kind of crazy to me that they were talking out there in the broadcast and like, yeah, this guy's really under recruited because most of the time you're able to see it. Now maybe it's just he doesn't have this like spectacular like shooting speed trait or something like that, but boy, his spectacular trait is he goes out there, he doesn't play like a freshman at all. He's cool, composed, he plays within the system, he's a good teammate, and he plays winning basketball at the end of the day. He makes his free throws, he doesn't foul too much. He had one foul in this game, and overall, he just looks really comfortable out there and looks like a good ball handler for the team. So, Sonny, let's get to the final part here. MVP of the game. I know we can break this up a little bit of different ways. MVP overall, defensive MVP, stuff like that. But just give me who were the one or two players that stuck out to you the most and why.
For me, I'm going to go with Big Z. We just found out a couple hours before the game even started that his brother was dealing with a knee injury. As of this recording, we don't know what the actual issue is. So I'm sure we're going to find out about that in the Brad's post game press conference. But Big Z came in like when you think about the first game, Jackson State, and even as far as back as the Illinois State exhibition matchup. If you're going to pick one guy who you can say like he was okay, but he didn't really jump out at you, it was Big Z. You could see like, okay, maybe he's a guy better suited to play 15, 20 minutes or whatever. He's like such an enigma when it comes to the type of basketball player he was. But today, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 7 blocks. I literally said after that first block, I was like, you know what? Someone look up what the Illini record is because Big Z might break it today. And I think like he could have had that opportunity. He played 29 minutes more than anybody else today, and he was making 3-pointers, 3 for 6 from 3-point land. Just a very solid all-around game. Like clearly he's bigger than everybody else on the Eagles, but that's what you need to do sometimes. Just like impose your will. And he was talking trash. It wasn't just his play on the court. His mouth was doing a little talking too, which I love because I think that was a trait that lacked on last year's team. This year's team, I don't know if it's a combination of Big Z and Mirk. Mirk was talking trash in the first quarter today, which was really enjoyable to watch. But those two guys have brought in a different level of toughness, a little moxie to them, to this team that last year's team lacked.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from Zvonimir tonight. One of my criticisms of him coming into Illinois was like, okay, he can get blocked shots, but he's not somebody that's going to consistently contest shots around the rim. It's almost like feast or famine with him. I felt like today he was getting the block shots, and then because he was getting so many block shots, even if he was not getting the block, he was impacting what the players around the rim were doing. Obviously, FGCU is an undersized team to Illinois, but still, it's something that's good to see in this game. If I'm going to go with with an MVP in this one, Mirkovic is my MVP. I know the easy one is kind of Kylan Boswell, and somebody's going to yell at us in the comment section for not saying Kylan Boswell. I feel like that's kind of the obvious one, so I'm going to let Kylan Boswell be that. But I'm going to go with David Mirkovic. I felt like his defense was kind of underrated in this game, even though he was 0 for 3 from beyond the arc and 5 of 11 from the field. He still got to the free throw line 8 times, and he is another piece on this team that is a matchup nightmare for teams. He can handle the ball. He can go out there. He can play booty ball with you. He can post up. There's just so many things that he can do. He's so versatile. And against a team like Texas Tech or Alabama coming up, he's the type of guy that you're going to really rely on in certain situations to be a matchup advantage for your team. And he's going to be somebody that they can feel like they go to in a pinch when maybe they're on a scoring drought or something like that. And I think in this game, you saw just how much he can do in different ways, and it's going to be really valuable for this team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can't remember the last time we've had a freshman look this good immediately. He may run a little funny, but when it comes to doing things with the basketball, that mini Jokic comparisons really do start to apply here. I can't wait to see this is what he looks like after the first 2 games of his college basketball career. I can't wait to see what he looks like a month in or 2 months in, or once Big Ten season rolls around in mid-December. I think Big Merc, you're talking about, potential freshman of the year, but quite honestly, I think he can go even beyond that.
Yeah, I think as the confidence grows, we're just going to continue to see him grow in his role and keep doing better and better. All right, Sonny, great show here. Anything else you would like to add before we move on? We said we didn't know much about Avicic and his injury. Maybe Brad Underwood will mention that more in the post game. I would believe that we're going to see Stojakovic for, if not all of the game, most of the game against Texas Tech. So we'll see. Obviously, maybe we'll get some reports on that coming out of it a little bit later on. But final thoughts.
This seems fun. It's one of those where I really do mean it that this team has the ability, that I think, to have one of the more successful, if not the most successful season in the Brad Underwood era. We haven't even seen them fully intact yet, and are already arguably they look like the best team in the country. We haven't even seen Mihailo Petrovic play. We've seen maybe 50% of what Stojakovic looks like. One of the games, Tommy Visic didn't even play. But the barometer so far is kind of low because of our competition level. But those questions are going to be answered on Tuesday, and so I'm really looking forward to that matchup in the State Farm Center. It's going to be must-watch TV, and it's funny. Like, despite these injuries, I can't wait for that game. Like, I think this team is ready for that sort of challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. All right, great stuff, Sonny. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody for listening and watching. Please do like and subscribe here to Talk Illini, part of the Orange and Blue News with the On3 Network. Very appreciative of Orange and Blue News and the opportunity we have to talk Illini with you after every single Illini basketball game and the football games too. No football game this weekend, but coming up we'll have more on the football team after their games as well. So stay tuned here at Talk Illini, where we will bring you the football and the basketball of it all. Thanks again.